Hey guys, how you all doing today? It's Jordan here from Switchwatch, back again with another review, this time of Steredenn. This is a shoot 'em up from Pixelness Studio, thanks to them for providing this review code, so I can tell you guys if it's worth your hard-earned cash or not. Now, the question of the day is, what is your favorite shooter on the Switch? Very simple question, there are so many though, and I'm interested to know your answer, because you know that I like shoot 'em up, so I want to know what you like too. Let's get on with the review. With a name like Steredenn, you may think it sounds like a denture paste that your nan used to use to keep her teeth in, but alas it is not. In fact, Steredenn isn't any kind of bathroom product, it's actually a shoot 'em up from Pixelness Studio and published by Plug-in Digital. And don't let the name fool you like it did me, because Steredenn is actually a fantastic game. There's not much of a story to Steredenn, you're introduced to the game with a tutorial, but that's it. You're under attack from a relentless alien fleet who are doing their best to wipe you from existence. After that, you are thrusted right into the action. Many people will be disappointed with this aspect of the game, but as for the genre, and as a roguelike, it excuses it in my opinion. It's not a game with an expansive campaign, and the random nature of everything makes a story superfluous. The lack of a story gets a pass from me. The music is absolutely sublime. The developers have done their research about what makes an awesome shooter soundtrack, and they've cracked it. With some heavy rock metal tracks, this is such a great game to not only play but to listen to. It's not very often that I play a game and instantly notice the soundtrack. I usually have to purposely listen out for it to really take it in. There's no such case in Steredenn. The music just grabs you without subtlety and lets you know how awesome it is. If you want to know how a soundtrack can elevate a game so highly, then play Steredenn, because you'll have so much fun destroying enemies while rocking out to high quality pumping tracks. Visually, I think the game is also of a high standard. Yes, it's pixel based, but it's done so well. The amount of animation is great and the art direction is spot on. The explosions are just awesome and each of the many weapons are visually distinct. I love the background images too. Rather than only having black space, there are smatterings of some gorgeous nebulas and planets here and there, which are really quite striking. If there was one small, very minor complaint about the visuals, I would say that the bosses in the game aren't all that visually dissimilar, which makes it difficult to know which one you're coming up against at times. The gameplay is where things get even more awesome. Steredenn is a roguelike horizontal shmup of the highest quality in my opinion. It's not a genre mashup you would think works, but my word, it does. When I think of roguelikes from smaller indie games, I think of compromise. Developers sacrificing time-consuming handcrafted structures for quicker, easier, randomly generated gameplay elements. I went into Steredenn with that in mind, almost looking down on it. I came out of Steredenn wondering why all shooters aren't like this. What this means is that yes, almost everything is randomly generated, from the weapons, the power-ups, the enemies, the environments, and even the bosses to some extent. There's a lot, and that's what makes Steredenn so endlessly replayable and addictive. There are 5 very different crafts to use, although only the first one is unlocked from the beginning. You have to satisfy certain requirements to unlock the rest. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, if they're fast, slow, weak, or specializing in a specific type of weapon. They each have their own special move too. One of them has a seemingly feeble melee attack, one can launch homing missiles, one can teleport, another can lay down modules that increase the power of bots. You can equip 2 weapons at a time, although each of the crafts start with their standard shot. Once you've picked up another, the next one can be exchanged for one of the shots that you already have. Even your default weapon is ripe for exchange. Flicking between your weapons couldn't be easier with the Y button. Exchanging is done with the X button if you hover over the new weapon icon that should be hanging around the battlefield. There are so many weapons in Steredenn, an unbelievable amount. Put into different categories, you have the bullet weapons, the heavy weapons, the energy weapons, the bot weapons, and even melee weapons, each defined by their own colour. This is again what makes the game so endlessly replayable in my opinion. I've played hours and hours, yet I haven't found them all. They're massively varied and all of them are viable in my opinion. It all depends on situations as to what you want, and the power-ups that you attach to your ship. Speaking of power-ups, after completing a stage and blowing the boss to bits, you'll be granted the opportunity to choose one of a handful of assists to power up your ship. This could be increasing the power of certain types of shots, increasing your score combo, make reloading certain weapons faster. There are loads. When you combine the different weapons and power-ups with the specialist crafts, you've got yourself a very varied and potentially tactical game that can pan out differently each time. But get the right combination of things going and you may have something special. It's an incredibly difficult game without a doubt. The stages themselves are mostly fine, but it's the bosses that will punish you with their bullet hell nature and devastating attacks. While bosses are random, they're only selected from a very small pool of candidates at each stage. For example, the first stage can end with a clash between one of 4 bosses. It's enough to make it different, yet also allow you to study attack patterns and such. I'll tell you the truth, I haven't completed Steredenn yet. Sometimes I play it and I get destroyed early in the game, other times I have a great run only to fall at a similar hurdle. What is a constant though is that I can always feel my skill and learning of the game getting better. Even if I may not have had much luck in some of the random elements, I make better decisions, I take down bosses without a scratch. I know I will beat this game eventually and I can't wait for that day to come. Outside of the campaign, you have a few other gameplay modes. Daily Run, which is unlocked after playing 10 games. This is an online independent mode where folks around the world have one chance per day to get the highest score possible. If you mess up, game over man. Everyone has the same setup and level layout, so it's all fair. This would definitely be a good mode to come back to once per day. In addition to that, you have Boss Rush mode, an arena mode where you can choose to take on any of the bosses that you've encountered to master them, as well as local co-op mode if you want to play with a friend. These options really help pad the game out. At $12.99 or £11.99, I think for value it's a no-brainer. For what you're getting, you could play this for dozens of hours thanks to its addictive nature and wholly viable random elements. Steredenn could be twice the price and I'd still be happy to say that it's good value for money. Sure, there may be not a huge amount of modes, but for the amount of time I'm going to get out of this, just from the short campaign, it's worth it, no question. For those who would like to know, Steredenn binary stars will take up a nice small 372 megabytes of storage space. If you're unsure by now, I am pretty much in love with this game. It's one of the finest horizontal shooters that I've played and carries so much variety and addictiveness that can't be overstated. I'm usually not a fan of roguelikes, especially of the kind that makes you lose absolutely everything with death, but Steredenn is something special, and it makes the genre special. The music, the visuals, and the gameplay come together so sweetly to form this perfectly rounded shoot 'em up that took me by complete surprise. I went in with very low expectations. I came out with a very high opinion of Steredenn. I would award it a very high 9 out of 10. Okay guys, you know what we would love you to do. If you're a regular Switch watcher and enjoyed this video, then hit that thumbs up button to help us out. Leave a comment below answering the question of the day: what is your favourite shooter on the Switch? Honestly, for me, it could well be Steredenn. Or for something a bit more classic, I'd go for Blazing Star. If you're new here, then join in and click that subscribe button. We aim to be the best Switch review channel on YouTube. You won't regret it. And of course, check out the website switchwatch.co.uk for news, reviews and features. It's well worth checking out at least once per day to get up to date. I've been Jordan from Switchwatch and I'll see you guys next time.